The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello, and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 2025 Halloween episode.
I know, and as promised, we have some pretty great listener stories for you all tonight.
Yeah, we got some really great stories. And before we start, we just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who shared their stories with us. I know it can be a little daunting sometimes sharing your stories, but it was really cool to read them. And frankly, it was kind of cool to be able to relate to each of them in a different way, too. You and I have talked before. We've had experiences separately that we would classify as supernatural. And when we were first dating, eons ago.
Was quite a while ago.
It was one of the things that we kind of connected on. So now that we've been together for a while, we've had some supernatural experiences together, too.
Which my wife promised that we would share tonight with all of you, at least some of them. So we have those for you also.
Yes, we do.
So to start off our episode tonight, our house was built in 1895, and it's a beautiful old house in one of the historic parts of town. And when we moved in, we kind of wondered if it would be haunted.
Which we were okay with if it was going to be haunted. And we actually didn't have to wait very long to find out, because the first kind of weird thing happened the very first night we were here.
It really did.
So it was late August when we moved in, 9 years ago or so. And I think we had moved all of our furniture in, and we had unpacked like the essential stuff, like the kitchen stuff, but we still had some boxes piled up. And it had been a long day of moving furniture, but we'd stayed up pretty late and we were pretty tired. So we went to bed, and around 2 a.m., something woke me up, and I laid there for a few seconds trying to figure out what had woken me up. And then I heard it. It sounded like somebody was walking past our bedroom door and into the living room. And as I laid there, I heard the footsteps travel back from the living room past our bedroom door. And our door was open, and there was enough light that I could see pretty clearly that there wasn't anybody standing there, which was good since it was just the two of us in the house at the time. And so I laid there a couple more seconds, and I've lived in old houses before. So I know that they creak and they settle, and when you have wooden floors, the temperature changes make a big difference. They'll creak. So I chalked it up to it just being an old house, and most likely it was just the floors creaking. And we'd only been there for a few hours, so I thought, okay, maybe it's a window rattling or there's some sort of noise from the fireplace. It has to be explained. So I'm laying there thinking all these things, and I hear it again. It sounds like a human being walking past our door and into the living room. So I wasn't scared, probably because I was still half asleep. But I wanted to figure out what this noise was, because you have to get used to noises in your house, right? You recognize, oh, that's the fridge, or right? So I was like, okay, I need to get used to this noise, whatever it is. So I got up and I walked out towards the living room, and I stopped in the middle of the room, and it sounded like somebody walked away from me out of the living room and into our mostly empty dining room. So I followed it. And as soon as I got in the dining room, it sounded like whoever it was walked away from me out of the dining room and back into the living room. So I couldn't figure it out. And I was so tired, so I just gave up and I went back to bed. And I left the bedroom door open. And just as I was about to fall back asleep, I freaking heard it again. Somebody walking by. And my eyes flew open. And of course, there's nobody there. So I know this might sound a little strange, but in the moment, I was so tired that I wasn't scared. I was just really annoyed because I had to get up early, and whatever this was keeping me up. And we both know I don't do well when things keep me up.
Oh, no. We know things don't go well when something's keeping you up.
I get a little cranky if I don't get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
So I think because this house has been broken up into apartments since the 1970s, I think at first, whatever was walking around was just kind of checking us out because we were the new people moving in.
Or perhaps it's some of my relatives that have passed on, because we know this house was in my family for at least 30 years.
Which was weird because we didn't know it when we moved in.
No.
We discovered it much later.
Much later.
Yeah.
But we still hear walking in our house quite often. Usually it's when one of us is in the bathroom and we hear someone walk down the hallway and stop just outside the bathroom door, like they're waiting to use it. So, with that said, I kind of always assume that it's my wife waiting to pee. But quite a few times when I've come out expecting her to be there, she's still in bed sleeping.
And it's happened to me too. Reverse, where I think it's you waiting outside the bathroom door and you're not there.
Exactly. And those first few months, we would find little puddles of water on the floor that we couldn't explain.
Not because he wouldn't let me in to pee.
Well, now that you say that, that had never crossed my mind. So it hadn't rained outside, and it wasn't from our shoes, and we didn't have any leaky ceilings. But we kept finding these little puddles of water at the bottom of the stairs, or just in random spots in the middle of the living room floor, as though a small ice cube had melted. We're talking a spot that's probably an inch in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
Just a small puddle of water, which is strange.
Very strange. And it went on for a couple weeks, but then it stopped, and it hasn't happened since. So when we first moved in, I started keeping kind of like a running log of the weird things that have happened here. And every once in a while when I feel like I haven't looked at it in a bit, I'll look back at it. And there does seem to be somewhat of a pattern where we won't have anything strange happen for months at a time, but then all of a sudden we'll have a week or two where a bunch of stuff all happens one right after the other. And it happens all times of year, but typically the most stuff happens in July and August, and then again in December and January. So, there's been times where we've heard voices in the same room with us. Like the time somebody shushed us in our own kitchen.
Yeah, that was really bizarre. That was 4 or 5 winters ago. because we were putting a dollhouse together that I'd gotten you for Christmas.
Yes. So we had gone to Hobby Lobby one time, and I had casually mentioned that I always wanted a dollhouse to put together. And my awesome husband remembered that comment and surprised me with a big-ass dollhouse for Christmas, which is still the nicest present anybody's ever given me, by the way.
Well, I knew you wanted it, and it was a good project.
Yeah, we worked on it together for weeks.
Yeah, weeks. That turned into months.
Well,
and $5,000 later.
Well, why was that? Because somebody kept buying additions to the dollhouse, and it wasn't me.
Well, some of this dollhouse furniture is as expensive as real furniture.
Right.
And we had to make it perfect, right?
Right.
Lighting, everything.
Right. So I'm going to let you tell the story, but basically we were bantering back and forth like we just were.
So we were in the kitchen, and we had been working on this dollhouse every night for days, until like 3 a.m. And this one night, we were starting to give each other some shit. We weren't really arguing. We were just picking on each other and just giving each other shit like we always do. And then all of a sudden, from somewhere behind us, this voice just went, shh. Like whoever it was just annoyed and tired of us.
Can you blame them?
I guess if they wanted to go to sleep.
Right.
I don't know how we were annoying them unless it was the butler.
Yeah. But we've been shushed more than once. We've heard it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and we've had some weird experiences with this door leading to the butler pantry, and we were in our sitting room at that time, putting this dollhouse together. So probably he didn't like what we had to say.
Could be. We were in his domain.
We were.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, too, I mean, we started the podcast 3 years ago. So we were living here. And in all that time, the year since, we spend a lot of time researching the supernatural or talking about it or recording it. And one of the weirdest things that happened was directly related to the podcast. So generally, those of you who have listened to us for a while know that we typically record on Sunday nights. And in August of 2022, we sat down and we recorded our episode on the Bell Witch. Since it was summertime, we recorded kind of late for us. And when we were done, it was about 10:30 at night. And we went into the kitchen to get some water and to look for our nightly snacks that we always have before we watch TV. And all of a sudden, this mantle clock that we have on the fireplace, it's a mantle clock from the 1800s. It has never worked. The mechanism inside is all seized up. Plus, at the time, we didn't have a key for it. It was missing its key.
Yeah, and when I had purchased it for you, I knew that it didn't run, and I had the intention of restoring it. So I went through the insides, I had cleaned it up, made sure that the spring wasn't sprung or wrapped tightly, and I went through and took care of all of it, and yeah, never chimed once.
Yes.
Nothing ever moved, no mechanisms whatsoever.
Right. So it had been sitting on the mantle for at least a year, I would think.
At least.
Maybe 2 years. So we're standing in the kitchen. We just finished recording the Bell Witch episode. And all of a sudden, there's this god-awful racket. And it took a second for it to register for both of us what the hell was making this noise. And I remember you made a beeline for the living room. And the next thing I know, you're hollering at me that I have to come see what's happening. So I went into the living room, and the mantle clock, never worked, is just gonging over and over and over, and the hands are spinning around and around and around and around like crazy. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we have to make this stop because it's so loud. And I remember you yelling that you weren't sure how you were going to make it stop. And somehow you did. I don't remember what you did to it.
Well, here's the thing. I pulled it down from the shelf. I looked inside, and nothing's really going on with this thing, which I couldn't figure out what the hell. And then, so I'm looking at it. I'm turning it upside down. I'm turning it around. I'm putting my finger in there to see if anything's moving, and absolutely nothing. So I just put it back down on the mantle, and it stopped.
It was crazy.
It was weird.
It was crazy. And for the rest of the night, I think I was on edge because I kept expecting it to happen again.
Yeah, which is also weird is that we have a few of these from the 1800s in our house, and they do have keys. And I always wind them down because I really don't want them to ever gong. I want to keep them in pristine condition, you know?
Yes. And if you've ever had an old clock like that, you know that you can hear it in the entire house. It is loud. So, as I had mentioned before, it was summer, and we were relatively new at the podcasting thing. And so we spent a lot of time recording episodes one right after the other. And the very next night, we were in the studio, but we were recording a totally different episode. And there were no issues with the clock, which was good. We got through it with no problems. But the next day, you were editing the brand new episode, and you were like, you got to come in here. Come in here.
Yeah, like, holy shit, you need to listen to this.
So he plays the audio from the night before, and in it, he's talking. I'm laughing at what he's saying, but there's a third voice right in the middle of it.
Exactly.
And we played it over and over and over, and it was just this breathy voice. And we kept saying, it can't be either one of us, because he was talking and you could clearly see his audio, and I'm laughing and you can clearly see the spikes. And this third voice showed up on my mic, which means it was standing closest to me.
Right, which is the wall to the living room that separates the living room.
Right. Nobody else in the house.
No one.
So we listened to it over and over, trying to figure out what in the world it was saying. And I remember you even isolated
the vocal
and played it all by itself. And the only thing we could figure out or determine is that we think it was a woman. It was a one-syllable word that sounded like either no or don't.
Yeah, even though I isolated the vocal and then brought up the volume on it, you still couldn't make it out. But it was just eerie, creepy, because there should not be a third voice in this track. Our recording studio is pretty soundproof.
Yeah.
It's just weird. So either it came from another room into this room somehow, or it was right in this recording studio with us.
With me, right over my shoulder.
Yeah, because it was in your mic.
It was in my mic. So, and we even asked a techie friend of ours. I did. I don't know if I told you. I asked a techie friend of mine if there was, how that could possibly happen, if it could pick up something from a laptop and he was like,
No.
No,
it's not like the old days when you got a TV and you're running an antenna and somebody might have been on a CB going by or a handheld radio and it might pick it up. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. So we actually left it in the episode. We were hoping that somebody might hear it. It was the episode after the Bell Witch. So I think that's like 4 or 5. I didn't look back. So, yeah, I don't know. But it was weird.
Yeah, so it should still be there if you ever want to go back and listen to Bell Witch. I can't remember exactly where it is?
It's when you said something funny because I was laughing. Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, it was really a weird string of events.
And that's what I was saying, where we go months without anything, and then it'll be like a week or two of one thing right after the other.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
All right. So I guess with that, we've shared some of our encounters here in the house. So let's get started with some of our listener stories. So our first story comes from father and daughter, John and Miranda. They called it Aurora's Ghost. One weekend day, it was just myself and the kids at home. Aaron and Miranda, who were 13 and 9 respectively, were off from school, and my wife was working her shift at the local hospital. It could have been any other day, but this day was special. This was going to be the best day that a couple of kids could ever have. I packed up the car and took off to the local Toys R Us. The kids picked out a couple of new bikes and would be able to play outside for the rest of the day. They could race their friends up and down the street, cruising and chasing the day. They were overjoyed. Dad was the home hero, my daughter said. What could possibly be better than that? I had one more plan. I had seen an ad for Siberian Husky puppies, $150 each. We previously had a Siberian Husky named Augie and an Alaskan Malamute named Sirius, but both dogs had passed away. Our home had no fluffy dogs to make the winters fun and exciting, no dogs to explore the woods and creeks with, and no dogs to give treats to. I pulled up on the street and parked in front of the house. The kids were over the moon excited. All the dogs and puppies were in a large pen in the front yard. The mother was a gorgeous ginger husky, while the father was typical black-masked, white-bellied husky. Clumsy little fluffy blobs of all different colors came barreling towards the fence, begging to be given attention by the newcomers. They were sweet, but one stuck out from all the rest. My kids threw the ball, and Aurora was the only one who wanted to play with them. The rest of them seemed disinterested in playing with them. I scooped her up, and she melted in my arms. She was a small, multicolored husky. She had reddish ears, the black mask, and a golden ridge line that ran from between her ears down to her tail. She was perfect. I paid for her, and we got into the car with the dog that would be the sole dog of the family and the greatest companion. We had Aurora for 16 and a half years. She really was part of the family and bonded with everyone. We also had 2 cats, but everyone got along. She went on a lot of outdoor adventures with us. In the summer, she would romp around and wade in the Hudson River. During some of the winter hikes, she would use her keen nose to find and dig live mice out of the snow. She was also a typical husky. If she was able to slip out of the house, she would bolt and go exploring. There was no calling her back. She would come back when she was ready, and she always did. She was fierce, fun, loyal, and had a great life. When she finally had to leave, it was the last day of spring. The whole family was at the vet's office to say goodbye. It was sad, but peaceful. We had her cremated. We all went home from the vet's office, and the next day we went off to work. My wife was approached by a coworker about a week later, saying that she had driven by our house in the morning, and she had seen our husky, Aurora, lying on the front lawn under the crabapple tree, watching the traffic go by. We had not told anyone about Aurora's passing that week. There were no other huskies in our neighborhood. My wife was approached by another coworker, unrelated to the first coworker, who also said she had seen Aurora on the front lawn. The fact that she was seen twice by 2 different people on 2 different days still gives me goosebumps. I really now believe that some pets are bonded to us spiritually, and that we may see them again in the afterlife.
I love that story.
It's really nice.
I love it.
I mean, since our cats have passed away here, I always think that they're going to make an appearance somehow.
Yes, they haven't yet, though.
I don't want them to, but then, in a way, I'd like to know that they're happy.
Yeah.
Doing their thing.
Yeah. What I like most about John and Miranda's story is that they wrote it together, which I think is really sweet. And I also think that for a lot of people, our pets staying with us in the afterlife is way more common than anybody likes to talk about, which is kind of comforting.
Yeah, after I got done reading his story, I was like, oh, it's so sweet.
It is sweet.
So we've both had what we've considered ghostly encounters with pets. We've talked about one of them before, the ghost cat at my old house. But you've had a ghost cat or dog experience here that kind of freaked you out also, didn't you?
Yeah, it was here. It wasn't our pets, though. So, I experienced it twice, and it's not something I really want to experience a third time, if I'm being honest. The first time, it was around 7 o'clock at night, and I had come into our bedroom to lay down because I had a migraine. I get migraines pretty frequently. And I had one of our cats, Mouse, in the room with me. And I was laying down on the bed with my back to the door, and the room was pretty dark. And Mouse, she's a pretty big cat, and she was curled up near my stomach. And so I was just lying there. I was trying to relax and hoping this headache would go away. When I felt one of our other cats jump up on the bed near my butt. And at the time, I knew the door was closed, and I was pretty sure that neither of our other cats had come into the room. So I opened my eyes, and I kind of leaned over my shoulder to see which cat was laying next to my butt. And at the same exact time, Mouse, who was near my stomach, stood up and looked over the top of my hip towards where I thought I had felt the cat curl up. And she arched her back, and she just did this weird meow that I've never heard her make before. And the thing is there was nothing there.
Just your butt.
Just my butt. So I felt it, and Mouse acknowledged whatever was there. So at the time, headache forgotten, I hightailed it out of there and came and found you and told you what had just happened to me. So then a few months later, again, it was around 7:30 at night. I had another migraine, and I came into the bedroom to lay down. And this time, I didn't have any of the cats with me, and I was facing the bedroom door, but I had closed the door. And I knew all the cats were out of the room. So I'm laying there, and my eyes are closed, and I felt one of the cats jump up on the bed. And I felt the cat cross over my ankles from right to left, and then turn around and step over my ankles back the other way. And while this is happening, my eyes are closed, and I can't make sense of it because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the weight of one of our cats. And the door was closed, and I knew they weren't in there. So I kept my eyes closed, and I felt whatever it was walk up the length of my body and lay down right in front of my stomach. And at this point, I'm still trying to figure out, is it one of our cats? It doesn't feel right. Oh my God, I'm going to have to open my eyes, and I'm going to have to look. And I did. And again, there was nothing there. My gut said, my instinct said that it wasn't a cat, that it was a small dog. And I don't know why I felt that or thought that, but again, I hightailed it out of the room and came and found you and was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. It was the creepiest thing. So that's my ghost pet story.
It was weird because they came in and there was absolutely nothing in the room and the door had been closed.
Right.
So
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. It was weird. I haven't felt it since, knock on wood. I don't want to. I didn't really like it. So.
Well, it's quite weird when, you're the only one in the room and you're sleeping and you feel something kind of, crawling all over you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sleeping. That was even the worst part, was that I was awake. I was just laying with my eyes closed. It's very unnerving.
Well, I'm glad it hasn't happened to me yet.
Just you wait.
Yeah, thanks, dear. All right, so our next story comes from Rain. It's about a near-death experience that she had. She wrote, I've actually had 2 near-death experiences. The first time I was young, dumb, and didn't experience much besides rolling through my entire life, from the present back to birth, within what felt like less than 60 seconds. The only thing that I really took away was that every memory that I thought I had forgotten was still up there somewhere. After I had grown up some, having become a mother to an amazing child about 2 years previous, my wisdom teeth decided to finally emerge. Contrary to professional predictions, sideways, ruining years of orthodontics and causing me constant pain. As a rule, I don't do doctors or dentists, but this was not negotiable. I went to a local oral surgery center and was looking actually forward to getting it over with. Everything started normally. I signed a few papers and was escorted into the next room, leaving my toddler and her father in the waiting room. I laid down and inhaled the anesthesia. Within seconds, I began expanding beyond my body. The first thing that I noticed was that I could hear and see what was happening in the next room. Then quickly, the next building. Then the next town. As I expanded outwards, I became lighter in weight and color. I was soon the size of everything, and one with a pure, bright whiteness. I've never been exposed to any organized religion, yet upon my arrival at the pinnacle of this speedy journey, I was immediately received by a man who looked like a typical American Jesus, who I took to be God in the form that I could best accept. He was calm and cheerful and simply asked me, "What would you like to do?" I was a little surprised and relieved to be given the option. I thought for a split second about it all and replied, "I have a little girl down there, so I have to go back." It seemed he might have been expecting that answer and stated simply but poignantly, "Then you know what you have to do." Did I? I looked around at the infinite welcoming whiteness and noticed that when I looked straight down, just at the tip of our toes, was a black hole, maybe 3 to 4 feet in diameter. This was where I had just come from, but from my new perspective, this world was scary. Returning would apparently entail the opposite experience of my arrival. Going down meant getting smaller, tighter, a cone of exponentially increasing darkness. Compared to ultimate softness, the hole looked like a terrifying barbed wire tornado in uber black. I tried to just do it, like stepping off a super high diving board, but chickened out and caught my balance just in time. To this, he just started laughing at me, not mean or patronizing, but like I'd performed a genuinely hilarious stunt that naturally amused him. In a show of support, and a likely to prevent collapsing from laughter, his hand came to rest firmly across my back. Still smiling, though thoroughly light-hearted, he repeated himself more seriously, "You know what you have to do. Without a thought, I took a large step back, then dove headfirst, roughly aiming for the center of the frightening funnel. I woke up in the dentist chair, everyone around me looking very worried, relieved. I had apparently been experiencing violent seizures for nearly 15 minutes. It all felt like less than 1 minute to me. Afterwards, they informed me that I still had my wisdom teeth. This was unacceptable to me, especially after what I had been through. They said that they would not be able to remove them because they could not give me any more anesthesia. Easy fix, I thought. At this time, I felt such detachment from my physical body. I begged them to go ahead without any. I felt every bit of smashing and pulling until all 4 impacted inconveniences were removed and felt no pain whatsoever, because through the experience, I had learned how to simply disconnect. No, that didn't last forever, but for another week or 2, I did feel my connection with the other side, God or what have you, like an open phone line or something. If only we could all recognize that we are attached to the everything all the time.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like anesthesia.
Right. I understand it. Can you imagine? What a story.
No, I cannot. Well, I can imagine, but it's nothing I ever want to have happen to me. I feel sorry for Rain.
I know. That's what I thought when I first read it too, is I'm sorry that happened to you, but what a great story to have to tell.
I don't like going under. Local anesthesia. Just give me the needle. I don't care if I hear the crunching, the creaking, the pulling. Nope. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Rain. But It sounds like there was a positive to it also.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that story with us, because it was a doozy.
It was incredible.
And we'll have even more stories for all of you after this quick break. Hey, did you know? Ghosts solving their own murders is more common than you'd think. On February 21st, 1979, a fire engulfed one unit of a Chicago apartment building. After the fire was extinguished, police made an awful discovery: the body of Teresita Bassa, a respiratory therapist who had been stabbed in the chest and left under a partially burnt mattress. Despite investigating, they didn't have any leads. But then Remy Chua, a co-worker at the hospital, began having some lucid dreams, night after night, in which Bassa's ghost insisted that she was murdered by another co-worker. Chua contacted the police, telling them that Bassa's ghost was trying to solve her own murder and bring her murderer to justice. Bassa's ghost even showed Chua who had killed her. The police, completely skeptical, decided to look into the man Bassa had named in the dreams anyway, and quickly discovered that the orderly had some of Bassa's jewelry in his apartment. They investigated further and proved, without a doubt, that the orderly had, in fact, murdered Bassa and set the fire. Who'da thunk it?
All right, we're back, and this next story comes from Gary.
27 Macomb Street in the 1980s. It was summer, and the college students were mostly gone. We rented a third-floor apartment in a building where the majority of the apartments chopped out of the sea captain's home with a widow's walk were empty. When people were told where we rented, they had this grim and curious smile. Oh, that house. The apartment was at the end of a dark hall with a staircase on either end. That's where she would walk all night. Don't leave anything in the hallway or on one of the tables by the entry. They would be moved, rearranged, Some former inmates of the house claimed she even left notes for them. She was diaphanous and very wet. She walked softly, but distinctly. She was inconsolable. She had died young, drowned, and she was not at peace. She was not angry or seemed to be upset when we were there, just despondent, and always walking back and forth, all night. Just vary it a little. Go up to the widow's walk. Try walking on the other floors. Nope. Back and forth. Maybe she couldn't find her room or rest. I told her to go away. We were uncomfortable. She was a ghost. She didn't seem to care. We moved out that fall without regret and with some haste.
Well, yeah. That would get a little bothersome. You're trying to sleep, and you have this poor, inconsolable ghost
I
just
know.
going back and forth.
I know. It's sad.
I love the old homes with widows' walks.
I know.
We have a few around here.
We do. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Especially when you're on Cape Cod or anywhere in New England, really, on the coast. Any of those old captains' houses with the widows' walks. Because you can just imagine somebody.
Yeah, what it was like.
Yeah, up there using it, waiting for their husband to come home.
Yeah, that had to be awful.
Yeah.
Well, this next story is about two haunted places, and it also comes from Rain. She wrote, I once lived off the land on a tiny island in BC, Canada. It was heaven. At the top of a peak, overlooking the rainforest and the slope down to my shallow bay. The simple 2-room cabin I lived in had been built by a minister to live in while he built his magnificent church. He was a wonderful, kind man, and this was something of a life's dream, but it was not to be. Somewhere along the way, someone or something had inhabited the church, and it was not friendly. I couldn't stand to be near it, except on the occasional evening that I hadn't had enough to eat from the garden and ocean. My hunger would give me the strength to venture into the church. Then the first door on the right, which were emergency stores, shelves of delicious canned fruits. My dog would not join me. One summer evening, just as I was losing the last light of evening, I approached the church with fully faked cheerfulness. I greeted the building with respect. Hello, I won't bother you but for a moment. Just need to. Before I could even finish my sentence, crates and boxes that had been securely stacked for years came crashing down, not as gravity would have it, but deliberately stricken down, leaving a wall of boxes in front of me, just inside the threshold. I spun on my heel, saying something to the effect of, No problem, I'll try again another time. Leave it to me to joke with a demonic entity. I've lived in New Orleans for the last 25 years and had an amazing apartment on Bourbon Street for half of it.
Can you imagine? Right on Bourbon Street. So lucky.
I know.
An island in BC and then Bourbon Street.
I've always wanted to go to New Orleans and go to Bourbon Street.
I know.
And get some of those beads.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where your mind goes. Why am I surprised?
Well, of course I want to take in all the history.
Right.
But really, it's
all about the beads.
I want them for you.
Oh, okay. You know how I would have to get them right, and that's not happening.
You're such a party pooper sometimes.
I mean, maybe 25 years ago, but not now. No. Anyway, continue with Rain's story, please.
It was an ancient 2-bedroom room with those ornate metal-wrapped around balconies. The funny thing was that the building had 3 stories, and each one went back twice as far, though the back halves always remained empty. Like empty. The side balconies went the full length of the building, and we'd always go to the far end to watch the big fireworks shows over the river. I even used these empty rooms for storage and had no issue entering them during the day. But once the sun went down, it was a different story. I would be trying to get something out of there. I'd have the door open and a flashlight pointed at the item I needed to retrieve, sometimes only a foot or two in front of me, but I could not get it. I'm not sure if it was just me. No one else could even try, but I could not push a finger or a toe past an invisible point. It was a barrier that might as well have been made of steel, but only once it was dark. The day I moved into that apartment, I told everything in there with no uncertainty. This is my house for now. I don't want to see or hear anything creepy. This is my plane of existence, so leave me alone. If not, I'm sure I'd have more stories for you from that place. But as it is, I have nothing but great memories.
I love that. I love that she told the entity or whatever was there, this is the way it is.
Yeah, sometimes you got to put them in their place, right?
You have to set those boundaries.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So this next one is from Sarah, and it's pretty cool because it's from our neck of the woods.
Yes, it is. So Sarah wrote, "My mom always told stories of the house she and my dad rented before we lived in the house that I grew up in. When they would wake up in the morning on weekends, the house would always smell like bacon. There were many other strange happenings in that house, but that was the most significant one that they can remember. It is downtown near the old Kent Delord house, so it's one of the oldest houses in town." Sarah also shared the following story. "This one was told to me by my husband. He was always into Sasquatch stories and was told by someone that there had been signs of a Sasquatch up by Loon Lake. He loves to bike, so he decided to bike all sorts of backwoods trails up there. One day, while he was out on his bike, he heard some wood knocking from the forest that he swears to this day was a Sasquatch."
Oh, no.
I love that. I love all the stories. That's what I said. We got great stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more story about our house here that we live in that we are willing to share. And it has to do with our back room. So we call it our back room, but it's really our family room where we watch TV. We have our couches in there and the TV and, all the speakers and all the stuff. And
it's the home theater room, really.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time in there.
Yeah, watching TV at dinner time and at night before bed.
Yeah, we're in there a lot. You're in there during the day sometimes, too.
Yeah, I play some video games.
Yeah. So one night last October, whole year ago, I went in there to turn on the light and to turn the TV on. And usually we leave a light on so the room isn't pitch black when we go in later at night to watch TV. But that particular night, we hadn't left a light on at all. So I knew that going in, and I had my phone out and I had my flashlight on my phone. And I was aiming it down at the floor as I walked in because I didn't want to step on the cat. So I only got a few steps in when I just instinctively, my whole body just instinctively reared back because there was this huge dark shadow of a very large man standing right in front of me. And I knew with every fiber of my being that I was going to walk into him. And he was going to be solid, and it was going to feel like bouncing off of another human being. So I don't know how to explain it other than I felt at the time like I had surprised him as much as he had surprised me. But he was a very imposing presence. And in that moment, I felt like I was very much invading his space. So I whipped my phone up, and obviously there was nobody else in the room with me. There was just the cat looking up at me going, meow, right?
Exactly.
So I crossed the room and I turned the light on and I turned the stereo on and the Xbox, all the things. And then I left the room and I came and found you and I said, I can't believe what just happened. But I was also trying to rationalize it too, because shadow people are one thing that I don't really want to see in my house. I've been pretty firm since we moved in that I don't want to see anything like that. So I told myself at the time that it was either my eyes playing tricks on me or somehow it was my own shadow. But I know that's not what it was. I truly know that's not what it was. But thankfully, I have not experienced that since.
No, well, we've had the shadow near the butler's pantry that my daughter saw that time. That was quite odd.
Yeah.
Because she's not scared by anything.
Right.
I mean, she grew up on horror movies since she was little. I mean, her favorite horror movie was The Babadook.
Right.
And she saw something in that corner right where the butler's pantry is. So, yeah, and that's where we were shushed in that room. So there's definitely something going on once in a while in our house.
Yeah.
But it's nothing to worry about.
No, I didn't feel like I was instinctively I did feel like I was in danger only because I knew I was going to hit that person that was standing there. I was going to walk right into him and bounce off of him.
Well, that caught you by surprise.
Yes. And it was very much, I'm in here right now. What are you doing in here right now? Was kind of the vibe that I got. But I didn't feel like it was, I don't know how to explain it. It was a imposing presence, like it was a big guy, but at the same time, I don't think it was threatening in any way. I think they were just, whatever it was like, I'm in here right now, go away.
Well, you should have just body checked him, dear. Just turn around and hit him with your butt.
Nice. Yeah.
That's what you'll do next time.
No, there won't be a next time. I don't want to see that again. So, our last listener story comes from Carl in Pennsylvania, but he noted that this story takes place in the state of New York. He called it Two Love Stories. My parents were married in 1936. Dad was 20 years old and Mom was 19. They had 5 children. I'm the oldest. We were raised in a strict but loving religious home. They worked very hard so that we did not suffer any hardships, and they deeply loved and respected each other. After they both had passed, we found a large suitcase under her bed filled with hundreds of love notes and tender greeting cards that they had sent to each other for every occasion on the calendar. But they only had 34 years together before he passed away unexpectedly at the young age of 52. My mother grieved for her loss, but she knew what she had to do. She had to prepare for the rest of her life, but with one dominant rule. Under no circumstances did she want to place any financial burden on her kids. So she got a job and began making arrangements to sell the house. It was a large 2-story colonial, too big for her needs and too expensive to maintain. She found and bought a building lot, picked a house plan which she modified to her liking, hired a contractor whom she closely supervised, while he built her a small, comfortable, single-story bungalow in which she lived by herself for the next 35 years. She did have many loving family members nearby who watched out for her health and safety when she needed it, if she let them. But it was clear that she was happy there. She never changed the inside or the outside of the house. She loved it just the way it was. And she was very proud of the way she was maintaining it and the beautiful way it was landscaped. She had to move to a nursing home around 2006, and the house was sold. She passed away in 2012. The house was sold a third time sometime after that to a retired couple. After a while, they began to experience a strange, spiritual presence. It seemed to slowly fill the house and get a little stronger each day. They were at first extremely concerned and started to explore ways to remove the presence, including an exorcism. However, the wife came to believe the presence was actually an older woman who looked concerned and was slowly walking through the house and stopping to examine each room. She was sure the woman was not a threat. So they decided to wait and see if she would find what she was looking for and go away. I understand they are still waiting. If this apparition is our mother, I think I know what she is doing. She is examining each change that was made, figuring out what would be required to change it back to its original shape, and trying to find out if she could afford to pay for it. There was no way she was going to be a financial burden on any of her kids.
Wow.
I know.
That's sad but sweet.
It is sweet.
I mean, when you love a place so much and you have to sell it,
Yeah.
that's just got to be heartbreaking. There's no way I'd want to leave my house and not be able to have it for eternity.
Right. And something that you've cared for and maintained for so long. And then you see these changes being made, and all you can think about is if you can afford to change it back. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Or perhaps she was admiring it and thinking, well, this is a nice change that they made.
Oh, yeah. There could be that too.
There could be.
Yeah.
Examining each part of it, remembering how she had it and how it is now.
Yeah.
But the new family perhaps did it justice.
It could be.
It could very well be.
Yeah.
You never know. There is a bright side sometimes.
There is. And thank you to Carl for sharing that story with us.
Yes, thank you, Carl. Well, I guess that's it for our listener stories tonight.
That is. We had some great ones, and we hope that you all enjoyed them and that maybe you felt a little spookiness at some point, maybe.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. They don't always have to be super creepy.
No.
Super scary.
No, that's true.
Sometimes just when you can relate to them, that's creepy enough to know that somebody had the same somewhat experience that you've had.
And on the flip side, I don't just find it creepy, I also find it reassuring that, okay, there's hundreds of people out there, thousands of people out there, multiply it by worldwide, who are having similar experiences. And maybe the more we share them, the more we can look into them in a scientific way and figure out, how does this universe really work and what's happening?
Well, I do love having experiences, as frightening as they can be sometimes, because there is that after that, trying to figure it out, trying to make sense of it, trying to get some kind of answers. And with that, usually comes research. You start digging into the history of the land or the place, and it's quite exciting.
It can be when you think that you've kind of fit the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. And you're part of history of this.
That's true. It is like you're part of the history.
Yeah. Well, We hope you all have a safe and fun Halloween with your loved ones, family, friends, and hopefully it's an enjoyable one. And you get lots of candy.
I know. Even if you don't go trick-or-treating with any younger kids, hopefully you have some kids that you know
That'll give you candy.
that are willing to share their loot with you.
That's what Beth always looked for each year when my girls would come home for trick-or-treating and she'd be looking through their bags and they'd be saying, "Oh, you want this? I don't like this."
I always made out really good because there were so many things they didn't like, and I'd be like, "I'll eat that."
I'll eat them. Yeah.
I'd have more Tootsie Rolls than...
Well, now you'll have to go get your own bags of candy for Halloween.
I know. If I go the day after, they'll be 75% off. It's not the same, though.
No, plus candy. I mean, it's so expensive now. Bags of candy have gotten smaller, and they've tripled, quadrupled in price.
I know. Well, even the size of the candy bars have gotten smaller.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's still Halloween.
Yes.
And not only that, I don't care about the candy. It was never about the candy for me. It was going out and seeing everybody in their costumes, all the little kids, the little ones crying, "It's cold out." It just made for a great experience. I loved walking up and down the crowded streets, seeing everything that's going on. I never liked working Halloween because, well, we always got pummeled in the ER.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Yeah. I always tried to take a couple hours, even when I was on duty, to have somebody fill in for me so I could take the kids out trick-or-treating. And it was just the joy of it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's sweet.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah. Sometimes if I knew I wasn't going to get anybody, I'd just call in and take my kids trick-or-treating because that's one thing I did not want to miss with them.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they know now because I'm retired.
What are you going to do to me now?
Right. Eat that, bitch.
My dad always used to take me trick-or-treating because my mom was not a fan of Halloween. So she would always make my costumes every year, but my dad was the one that would take me out.
See, to me, it's always the best holiday of the year. There's no stress. Well, except for when they're like last minute, "I need this for my costume," or whatever, or it doesn't fit right, and it's always at the last minute.
Right.
But other than that, it's not like all the other holidays, like Thanksgiving, where you got to get meals prepared, and you got family coming, and there's, it's just all that. And then Christmas, the buying of the presents and getting everything set up. Halloween's just fun.
Right. I know.
Except for when you got a little crying kid. They're holding their hand because they're now cold because they've been out for hours.
And it always rains here. Every year it freaking rains. And what's it supposed to do? Rain. 70% chance of rain.
Really?
Yes.
We did have one Halloween a couple years ago where it was quite warm. It was beautiful, but those are few and far between.
Yeah. At least it's not snow. It could be.
But like we said, we hope you all have an enjoyable Halloween.
Yes, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Yes, thank you so much for all your stories. We wish we would have gave more time to send them in to us, but this was a last-minute decision.
Yes, and you guys came through for us, so no complaints.
We appreciate each and every one of you.
Yes.
Well, guess what?
It's time to say... check our sources, but we don't have any.
I know! For the first time in a long time.
Yep.
Well, with that said, join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Our Minds Wander.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.